Hi there. Today's July 8th, and I wanted to update you on where we are with our progress with moving from minister-centric to mission-centric. So this would be our center update for the month of July. We haven't had one in a couple of months due to the pandemic. So I'm here to give you some things that we're doing behind the scenes that are still moving us in the process of implementing our program in mission-centric. So one of the things that we're currently working on is our job descriptions. So as a board, so each position on the board has a description of what it is they're responsible for, what it is we can count on them for doing. And if you want to know what those descriptions look like, you can check them out in our bylaws. So right now, we're in the process of updating the senior minister, the board president, and the vice president. And all three of us have met. We've gotten some coaching from our coach, Gary, in this process. And on the final leg, for having a final version for the senior minister. What that looks like, that particular job description. And this is going to filter down into every ministry. So right now we're just focusing on the board. So we have the president, the vice president, the treasurer, the secretary, and the general board member. So each of them have a role that they play, things that we want to be able to count on them as a congregation and as fellow board members. So each board member has been asked to look at their duties. What is it that they do? What is it that they do in their role on the board? So they're writing that down. And then we're taking that and saying, well, if this is what you do, what have you committed to do about that? How much time does it take every month to do that? Every week, whatever it is. And they're giving us a complete description of what it is that they do. The next iteration of that is to then put that job description in a format that is no longer gray. It is very clearly spelled out. If I have whatever my role is on the board, that job, these are the things that I am doing and the things that you can count on me to do. And so this takes a little bit of a practice because we're used to the job descriptions from corporate America. This is not a corporate America job description. That already exists. That's what's in the bylaws. Now we're taking them and we're getting much more specific so that if you decide to ever run for the board, and by the way, we have a position currently open on the board. If you think you've been called, take a look at the responsibilities and the requirements. They're also in our bylaws, which you can find on our website. And if you're called, then give Joan Pete, our board president, drop her a line and let her know. Let her know that you're interested in pursuing this and we can have a conversation. But once these job descriptions are done, anybody who wants to get on the board will be able to look at that job and say, oh, this is what I will be saying yes to if I decide to be on the board. So we don't want it to be any surprises. Sometimes, and they're minister-centric, the minister approaches somebody and says, listen, come on, we have a position on the board. It's no big deal. There's not a lot to do. You're talking 5-10 hours a month. And you get all, and you go on. And then you get there and you find that you're in shock. You're in shock that all that has to be done. And you're disillusioned. And so we're working on no more disillusion. You will know what happens when you step into that role. So once we're done with this, we will then go into each of the ministries and do the exact same thing. And so the board will be approaching the minister heads and asking them to submit, tell me what it is you do as a minister head. For the ushers, for example, if you get approached to be an usher, wouldn't it be nice if somebody said something beyond, well, you just show up here once a month and we'll walk you through it. And then you feel like a fool when you get there because you've done it wrong, or the person you were going to meet isn't there that Sunday. Whatever the nuances are. Now we're not going to have that. It's going to take us some time to do that. And it's a shift in the way that we've done things. But wouldn't it be nice if you were asked to be an usher, or you volunteered to be an usher, or your greeter, or any of the other many ministries that we have, and somebody hands you a piece of paper and says, look at this, because this is what you're going to be saying yes to. Now, do you still want to do it? And the answer is you're going to say yes, because now you're comfortable. You're confident. You can do the things that are on this list. So we're working behind the scenes to start that process, and we're rolling on it. And I suspect that by the end of August, we'll have all of the board descriptions all the job descriptions for the boards accomplished and completed. And of course, we will share those descriptions with everyone when they're totally locked in. The other thing that we're doing is two other things that we're doing as a board in this process of implementing and moving toward more mission-centric ministry process. So during, you may not know this, but since March 15th, when we closed our outer doors, we as a board have been meeting all of March, all of April, all of May, once a week. We've met. It's only been in June and July that we're starting to meet less often, but we are still having our regular board meetings. So, and one of the things that's happening is that in the process of working out these job descriptions, we've learned that it is so much easier if you're going to be submitting a report or wanting to communicate something to your fellow board members. We submit it ahead of time, not the day of the board meeting or at a board meeting. So this process gives us all time to realize and digest what it is that another board member is submitting. For example, I submit the minister's report a couple of days easily before the board meeting so that the board already knows all that is going on administrative-wise, congregational-wise. They have a good feel for what's going on prior to the board meeting. And so what happens is prior to moving into this active minister-centric into mission-centric, our board meetings were 4, 5, sometimes 6 hours long. That's a lot of time. And so we've now got these board meetings down to 2.5 hours because the board is taking responsibility for doing their part, not just right at the board meeting time, but all throughout the month. They're processing and doing what they've said yes to do. It has really helped us to be able to get together and make decisions. The other thing that we're doing, and as part of our process of living above and below the line, which you guys are familiar with through the conscious conversation material, and also Power of 8. So at the beginning of each of our board gatherings, we're asking each other, what were you accountable and responsible for, and how did that go? We get to say yes to what it is we've done. We get to feel good about having committed and done what it is we've said to do, and we share that with each other on an honest, heartfelt level. And at the conclusion of our meetings, we're doing a Power of 8, which you're more than welcome to look into that material. But the Power of 8, we form a circle virtually, and we have a prayer intention for somebody on the board. And we've been doing that regularly now. And it's very, very powerful. And it's our way of filtering down the process of prayer, as well as being accountable and responsible for all that we say yes to. So these three things, job descriptions, accountability, responsibility, the Power of 8, we're consciously working on. And the other thing that's happening is on a subconscious level. And that is changing the core of our thinking about how we give to our ministry. We're consumers. We want to go out and get a gallon of milk. We go and we go get a gallon of milk. We pop down the money for that gallon of milk and we go home and we're happy. We got what we went out for. Consumerism. Well, we have consumerism taking place in church too. And that looks like you come to church expecting to receive. And if you get what it is you came for, you freely will give back to our ministry in the form of financial, right? But what if you weren't consumers? What if you in fact were? You came to church, you received something of value to the point where it moved you and changed your life, like our spirit groups do, like our Sunday talks do. There's so many different ways within our ministry that our lives are transformed, even if a little bit. We're being transformed. The new church format, mission-centric, is about transforming lives. And if your life has been transformed, wouldn't you want that for somebody else? Wouldn't you want us to still be here so that other lives could be transformed like yours has been? And that's an internal work that each of us are doing on an individual, personal level. And so as consumers, when we don't receive, we stop giving to the church. Several people have made a decision to no longer give to this ministry because our doors are not open. That's okay. That's okay. Everybody does what they do on their spiritual level. So this is a work that's being done underneath the physical form. You see, Because if your life has been transformed, you want to give that to somebody else, hence Unity Spiritual Center. You see, in 20 years, most of us watching this video will not be here to contribute to this ministry. That means if we don't do something about the way that we contribute to this ministry, we're gone. We're gone. There will be no legacy for somebody else. So we're working on that process as well. So if your life has been transformed in this ministry, why don't you let us know? There's a form to fill out on the website for Transformational Stories, because we'd love to hear from you regarding it. So that's the center update for July. We hope that you've gotten something from it. Don't be a stranger. Come join us in all of our activities. And we love you, we bless you, and Godspeed. And so it is.